Everybody, welcome to episode number 22. This is representing one of the greatest running backs of all time, Emmitt Smith. Once again, thank you for getting on C.R.E.A.M episode number 22. This episode goes out to the legendary Emmitt Smith.
All right, Jason, the C.R.E.A.M podcast and your YouTube channel recently just hit a great milestone of 1,000 subscribers, which is huge. 1,000 people subscribing now. And now we just hit another milestone very quickly, 1,250 subscribers. Congrats on 1,250.
Oh, thank you, man. It seems like we're blowing up, man. We're getting kind of famous. People are watching, they're listening. So thank you, everybody who took the time to watch our YouTube channel. If you like more content, please let us know what you're thinking. If you like it, make sure you continue to share with your friends so we can get to 5,000. Once again, thank you for all you guys who have definitely hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Really do appreciate it.
All right, Jason, now we're going to highlight someone who's doing some good in the world. Last week on the C.R.E.A.M podcast, we dumped all over Robert Sarver, the owner of the Suns, who's by all accounts a complete scumbag and just got banned for a year from the NBA. But now let's talk about someone doing something good. The founder and owner of Patagonia, I can't even say his name, but I think it's Yvon Chouinard, if I had to guess, just basically gave away his whole company worth $3 billion and all ownership rights towards climate change, impacting climate change. So what do you think about that?
That is huge and amazing. Right now, one of the major crises for all humans across this earth is this climate crisis. We see where some places have overly amount of water, while we see in places here in California that don't, in other parts of the country that don't have enough water. We see the issues of energy right now throughout the world. This is very powerful. What is a man when he passes away? Is it just how much money he earns or the good that he does while he's on earth? And this is a perfect example. So major shout out, major kudos to him. This is fantastic news. I think more of us need to step it up. If we have something to give, let's give. If it's $1, it's $1. If it's our time, it's a time. But everybody at the end of the day should give for the greater good of human beings and civilization.
Yeah, well said. And talk about a legacy, man. You know, he built this company on his values and his passion of outdoors and connecting people and getting people to experience nature. And what a great full circle moment where he just basically said, $3 billion company, let me just give it away. And in perpetuity, all proceeds are going right to climate change. And I know I'm going to go buy some Patagonia gear, or at least look into it, just because he's doing such a good thing. So hopefully a few more CEOs and politicians and other wealthy people do the same.
Right. And you know, as it also talks about the value of his kids. So if you look into it more, they say his kids agree with it in working and are involved in this process as well with the business. Oftentimes we see a lot of wealthy people who do quite well for themselves and the kids don't hold the same values as them. And you can tell as a parent, his kids share the same values as him, which is huge. So kudos to him with his parenting, where his kids share the same values as him. You don't see that every day.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So the question is, when are you going to give away your billions?
Oh man, when I get you, man, when I get my first billion, I'll definitely give it away.
There you go. Wonderful. Well, good job. Definitely to the guy, we can't pronounce his name, who owns Patagonia, for being the anti-Robert Sarver and actually doing some good in the world. Jason, now we're sitting here off mic, scratching our heads and looking at this matrix that's really interesting, and it should be important for a lot of people. And it's the percentage of consumers, U.S. consumers, who get audited by the IRS. And what we're looking at breaks down by fiscal year, going back a few years, then also back to 2010 for comparison, but also by income bracket. So what do you see by looking at this? What are some of your impressions?
One is the two ends of the world get audited the most. So we see people who have no income, 1.1% of people with no income get audited. And then we start seeing the numbers start jumping at people who are making 500 to $1 million. And then it really jumps when people make 10 million or over, where 8.7% of them get audited in 2019. So once again, 8.7% of people who file their taxes who make over $10 million and over are audited, while most people between the income of 25,000 and 500,000 is a 0.2% chance of getting audited back in 2019.
Yeah, that seems pretty consistent. It's around, like you said, from 25 grand to 500 grand. 2019, only 0.2% people got audited, and that was about the same in 2018. But to your point, if you're making no income, if you're declaring no income or income under 25 grand, that usually also means that you're getting some sort of unemployment or state aid or something, from the state or the federal government and assistance as well. So they're really red flagging and auditing those. And then if you're making a bunch of bucks, they're auditing those. But talk about the levels that you saw in this matrix too. We see 2010, the amount of audits, and talk about some of the crazy numbers on there.
Yeah, in 2010, if you made no income, it was 20%. So auditing went down for that group 99%. So auditing, one out of every five got audited if you declared no income in 2010. And if you made over 10 million, 21.5% of them. So it tells you that audits have drastically went down compared to what it used to. I know in the future, we're probably going to see those numbers ramp up due to the, I know Joe Biden, I think it might have been the Inflation Act, where they said they're going to increase the number of IRS workers. So we could see these numbers return to how they were a decade ago.
I'm not sure about that. Just because he's hiring people that it's going to go up and it's all for audits. I've heard or read different things, and you could be right. The numbers could go up, or it could go up again in those two brackets that we're talking about. But from what I've read, it's part to replace workers that are seasoned, that are retiring or maturing out of the IRS. And a lot of it is also not just for audits, but for other, internal functions and stuff. But from what I've read, they're expecting audits of people, yes, who got some sort of, PPP or who got something from the government during the COVID years. But also, it's going to be those high income, $1 million plus tax brackets that are going to get audited the most. So it might not be a bigger crunch on the middle class.
So are you saying when I call the IRS in the future, I will not have to be on hold for an hour anymore to find out where my refund is at?
It might not be an hour. It might be 2 hours. That's usually how the direction these things go these days. All right, Mr. Jason. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you were in a stadium, an arena, something for pro sports like pro baseball, basketball, football?
Last time I was there, last game I went to a Giants game this year, was the last time I went to a professional sporting event.
All right. And was that a Giant stadium there in San Francisco?
Yeah, it was beautiful. Pac Bell, 18, I don't know, Oracle Park they call it now. It was there going to one of their games.
Yeah, I bet it's gorgeous. And did you buy any concessions, food, beer, drinks?
I bought the horrible garlic fries, and I seen somebody complain about it before. They're supposed to be legendary, but they were cold garlic fries. I had a couple cocktails. And it started loading up, and then nachos and stuff. It got expensive.
It probably got really expensive. And I know in San Francisco, some of the stadiums there and arenas and ballparks are some of the most expensive in the country for concessions. So here on the C.R.E.A.M podcast, we got to dig in for people the most expensive U.S. stadiums for food and drinks. And you have the findings in front of you. So what jumps out at you?
First and foremost, the NBA champions, Golden State Warriors, has the second most expensive food and drinks in the country at $28.75. That's for a $13 beer, a $7.25 soft drink, and they put a bunch of ice in it, and an $8.50 hot dog. Most expensive, though, is Madison Square Garden, where a beer is $13.75, a soft drink $7.50, and a hot dog is $7.50. So if you want to come out to the Warriors, you're going to the Knicks, get ready because you're about to spend a whole lot of money to eat and drink at the game. So eat before you get there.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And if you bring a family of four and they're, that's just one hot dog, that doesn't fill anyone up. And, some popcorn or this or that, or ice cream or a couple, like you said, a couple cocktails, probably even more. People are spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars just on concessions for their family. And a big difference there, Chase Center. And like you said, the Warriors, at least they win the championship. Madison Square Garden, MSG, they should be giving away beer for free as bad as the Knicks are.
Yes, sir. Because the Knicks are horrible. They are cursed.
Now, some of the other ones on the list, Barclays Center in Brooklyn, you could see that. That's basically New York extended. TD Garden in Boston is expensive, and Boston in general is super pricey, but a great place. Miami, Florida, the FTX Arena. Tell us what the beers are there at the FTX Arena.
So the beers at FTX Arena is $14 per beer.
That's insane, huh? $14 beer night, and you think you're getting a bargain. 2 for $25. It's a discount.
Exactly. Horrible.
If I lived in the States, I would be doing the setup that I used to do when I was younger and broke, and I would just be sneaking stuff into the ballpark, I think.
Just wearing all those big old baggy clothes of the 90s, I guess, sir, huh?
Yeah. We used to do, I was really broke. We'd go to an all-you-could-eat buffet, and I'd have my backpack there with a plastic bag inside of it.
Right.
And I would just be like, one for me, and just start throwing stuff, a few muffins, some apples, some ziti, some chicken breast, whatever could go in the bag. And it all got mixed in there, but it would feed me for a couple days after.
What's crazy is, as we're talking, I'm looking at how much are Warriors tickets versus the Memphis Grizzlies on Christmas Day. So you were looking at tickets, just good seats, not just good seats around the place, and you're looking at on good seats on the first level, not in the second level, but let's say first level, and you're looking at between $500 to $1,400, which is crazy. But I think I apologize, $2,000.
Whoa!
So if you add the beer, is the cheapest thing there. So and the
parking probably cost you a grip too, huh?
And the problem with San Francisco, you can't really park in the arena. You have to park on the street or somewhere else. So it's better to take the ferry if you can to the arena. It's great to take the ferry from the East Bay there.
Wow. Hey, by the way, I'm going to be in probably 99% chance arriving San Francisco airport at 6 p.m. on Christmas Day. So if you want to pick me up and bring me to the Warriors game and buy me some beer and hot dogs and stuff, I won't object.
All right. I'll buy the beer and hot dogs. You get the tickets. We're good.
And we're going to get some nosebleeds if I'm buying the tickets.
Oh, man. Those are going to be $400 by themselves. It's crazy.
All right. All right, Jason. Now we have a segment on the C.R.E.A.M podcast that we affectionately call China is Fucked. And the reason we call it that is because everyone's always screaming about the U.S. headlines and our economy. Oh my God, we're headed for recession. We have so much inflation. Gas prices are, the sky is falling. But the rest of the world is seeing a lot of financial problems as well. And in fact, China, which had surpassed the U.S. as the highest GDP and was growing into the biggest economy in the world, is now properly fucked. So give us your thoughts on China.
Yeah, China's going through a lot of crisis issues right now. One is, we saw it last year. It was the beginning of it where we heard about the whole Everglade crisis, which is this whole this huge property developer who just pretty much folded, and a lot of Chinese people invested in the real estate as a safe haven for the cash. And then we're seeing the crisis where they're shutting down cities because of their zero COVID policies. And now China's in an economic crisis. So it's very interesting to see what's happening in China, as America's not the only one where we're going through a shift, and it's not just rosy in other places and not so much here.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, in China with their COVID lockdowns, they have a zero tolerance policy, and that's just crushing their economy over and over again. It's like a game of whack-a-mole where they keep closing down these, 6-8 million person cities over and over, and it just completely messes up their supply chain and manufacturing, and real estate markets crashing. And I know you mentioned too that in Europe, they have double-digit inflation, way worse than ours, and their energy costs are out of control.
Right. And you see it. So, oftentimes we think about war just being bullets and guns. But right now, what we're seeing with Russia is almost doing an economic warfare with Europe. And so right now we're going to see they're having a huge energy crisis, and it gets very, very cold in Europe and Germany and Poland. And the price of energy and heating up the house is going to be so expensive. It's going to be very, very hard for a lot of Europeans during this period of time.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It seems like a winter that Europeans need to just weather through and try to get through, and hopefully some better economic conditions. But yeah, that's our segment. China is fucked, which is a fun new segment on the C.R.E.A.M podcast. Jason, now we have one of my favorite topics, which is debt and why people should get out of debt and avoid costly credit cards. The United States of debt. So you have some current stats for us. Why don't you share those?
Yeah. So in July, year over year debt increased by 11.6%, which is a total of $1.137 trillion, which is 16.8% more in June. It's up 46 billion from the second quarter, and there's 233 million new cards. So 2 out of 5 will add debt by the end of the year. And what goes along with that, the new variable rates have jumped from 16.1% in June to now 18.03 on average for variable rates on credit cards.
That's crazy. So a couple stats you said that jumped out at me. Just in the second quarter alone, 3 months alone of 2020, there's $46 billion of new credit card debt, not existing, but new debt, and 233 million new cards in 1 quarter alone, which is basically every US adult, right? Almost got a new credit card, and people just keep racking up these debt. They look at consumer spending and what people, the quality of life, and people are just putting stuff on credit cards and on debt right now, and it's going to blow up in their faces with those variable interest rates that you mentioned.
Right. I think one thing is that since we have inflation, the cost, the quality of life, and the cost to have that quality of life, it costs a lot more to do because of inflation. And so the unfortunate thing is Americans did not save all the government benefits they got over the last couple of years, the PPP, the EIDL, the any relief that they got from the unemployment benefits. We didn't save enough of it. And now that we have inflation, people are just unprepared and racking up the credit cards because instead of staying home and eating their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, they are still going out on vacations, going out to eat, and want to live the same lifestyle they lived previously. And instead of sitting at home, they're just racking up more debt, which are going to kill them in the long run.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you could do it. You could, in America, you could just keep racking up debt and, go bankrupt or just have the debt forever, but no one's really paying off when you get to that amount of, when you get 30, 50, 70 grand worth of credit cards, revolving debt, no one pays that off really. And, sometimes their house goes up in value and they count on selling their house or refinancing to pay off that revolving debt. But it's tough. It's not going anywhere this time. And I think it's the perfect storm with the inflation, but also these variable rates. It's really going to blow up for a lot of families. And then what's going to happen is they don't have money to invest. They don't have money for the basics and healthcare and all the important things. So you're going to see more of a separation where the middle class is dissolving, and people who manage their debt and show discipline and, spend less than they make, and they have money consistently for investments, they're going to really rise to the top.
And the question is going to be is how are those people going to be able to retire down the road?
Definitely not. The question. They're going to be working till 78 years old, 80 years old the day they die.
Which is crazy because one of the big issues we're having is age discrimination. People simply don't hire people as they get older in this country.
Yeah, it should be interesting. But all of this basically is to say, watch your credit cards. Don't start just spending them up without paying them off, paying them down. Don't make it too easy to spend. You go to the mall, you go out to dinner and not think about it. Really keep those credit cards in check because they could get out of control very quickly as these variable rates rise.
Yes, and definitely indeed. If you can't pay it off every month or at least 2-3 months, you have a problem. You need to fix it, because once you're in that world, it's hard to get out of that cycle.
All right, Jason, now we have a shout out of the podcast. So who would you love to shine the light on this week?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Just INtertainment, good friend of mine with his DJ entertainment services. I went to an event the other day. He had it live. He had it jumping for a corporate event that he invited me to. So I just want to give a shout out to DJ Justin James, and Just INtertainment.
Nice, Just INtertainment. And how come I wasn't invited? That's messed up.
I know I should have flew you first class out there, man. But hey, I didn't want to get credit card debt, so I didn't do it.
Only the best for me. All right, Just INtertainment. Thanks for the shout out.
Once again, everybody, thank you for listening all the way through to episode 22 of the C.R.E.A.M podcast. Cash rules everything around me. If you got something for it, if you liked it, it was entertainment, please hit the like button and subscribe and share it to your friends, family, and network.